when an ordinary morning is shattered by an alien invasion, how will a fox-eared girl, bound by her past, awaken mysterious powers to protect everything she holds dear? Sina, 22, is living with her cousin Nicole after the death of her childhood friend left her in a state of depression. As she walks through the empty streets, she is struck by an unforeseen disaster, an alien monster that falls from the sky and rips apart the city's tranquility. In a moment of life and death, Sina's dormant dark magic awakens. Not only can she manipulate the shadows to tear the monster apart, but she can also heal fatal wounds. But behind this power lies a crisis far beyond imagination. Witness the fox-eared girl's journey from confusion to awakening as magic and reality collide, to uncover the mystery of her origins and protect her final home. That wonderful state where you disconnect for a moment from everything around you. Maybe in my case because of laziness, and just admire what you have in front of you. Like right now, all my attention is on my stockings. I'm looking closely at all the fabric patterns, wondering if I could knit something like that from scratch. With what kind of needle, with what thread, with what technique. But I had to come out of the trance at some point, and with all the willpower I have, I accomplished the monumental task of not lying down. As I stroke my legs, I think about how this thing I was so focused on a moment ago now seems so insignificant. But mostly I think about why on earth I slept in stockings. I guess I forgot to take them off, but that sounds like a lot of circulation problems. Whatever. I've been sitting on my bed for quite a while now, trying in vain to find motivation for the umpteenth time. As usual, nothing works, so I just say to myself, so stay unmotivated, but don't stop moving. I finally get up. Being depressed for so long is tiring. I want to get better. I'm trying to get better. My life basically came to a standstill when my childhood friend died when I was a teenager, but as much as my pesky hormones made it difficult, I want to live again, have fun, grow, be happy. Although bad habits take time to die, which has made me rather lonely. At least I'm not completely alone, and I knew not to waste my time to a certain extent. But enough complaining. Getting things started is the hardest part. You have to be optimistic. It's early in the morning, when it's between dark and almost dawn, the best and worst time of the day. The best when I have nothing to do and can go back to sleep without a care in the world, or in rare cases like now, when I'm not sleepy and go for a walk in the almost empty streets. And worst of all, when I have to get up to go to the academy, or when I have work to do. And I want to go back to sleep so badly that I could die. After washing up, I look out the window. It's summer, so even though it's cold now, it's going to be quite warm later. So I'm wearing something light over my underwear, some black pantyhose and gray shorts. The top is a white tank top and a black sweatshirt with a zipper that I'll open later if it's too warm. I look at myself in the mirror in my room. My gaze returns to a young woman of 22 years old, 5'6" tall, with long light brown hair down to my hips. Adorning my pretty face are emerald green eyes that I inherited from my mother, with a well-developed body that I worked hard to have, moderate breasts and a heart-shaped butt. And most importantly, proud ears and a big fox tail, the same color as my hair, with a snow-white tip to my tail and slightly black tips to my ears. Cute, adorable, fluffy and majestic, At least I managed to focus my depression on taking care of my body. My inner narcissist approves. Finally, I put on some running shoes and leave my room. Good morning, Sina. I hear as I walk down the stairs on my way to the door. I turn my head and see my cousin Nicole, a fox-skinned woman, half a head taller than me and with shoulder-length messy black hair, ruby red eyes, with an erotic yet fit body. despite spending most of the day in a chair or in a conference room at the castle. Perhaps her most distinguishing feature, at least for me, is her fluffy black tail with a white tip. All of her hair is completely black, so that white patch of fluff stands out even more. I remember dipping into it when I was younger. "Good morning, I'm on my way out. Can I get you something?" This seems to wake her up, and with a happy wag of her tail, she says to me, "Skewers, if it's open," I reply as I leave the house. Living with Nicole has been my medicine. Although she's quite lazy, she certainly takes seriously the task of, as she says, bringing me out of my shell. Although sneaking into the shower with me still brings me closer to having a heart attack for, two very big reasons. I'm currently living with her in her house in the capital city. It's nice and cozy, with 2 floors, 3 bedrooms, a large living room and separate rooms for bathrooms, kitchen and laundry, as well as a beautiful garden full of grass and flowers. Although Nicole always complains about having to water and take care of the garden and the plants in the house, she also says that no matter how fancy and amazing it is, a house without plants is a pigsty. And I agree. It's a bit far from the academy, though close enough to walk, and it's a nice neighborhood, quiet and quite big, though it's not a rich or noble area. I take a long breath of the fresh morning air until I am interrupted by a sound from hell. I turn my head to the neighbor's garden, and there it is. Galita, a killer chicken who, whenever he sees me, breaks through the wooden fence, which is clearly not made to stop something his size, and comes running, wings flapping, ready to kill me. However, I have recently learned a way to survive. I squat first. Peep, 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 peep. If I act like a chick and put up my hands, he slows down and comes closer, even lets me pet him. Is he just shy? It works, even though it makes me look like a complete idiot, especially standing in the middle of the street. He calms down, comes quietly closer and snuggles between my hands. The little feathers are surprisingly soft, plus the red fur crest and beard, whatever it's called. It's very big, and it's funny to pull it down gently. So he opens his beak and looks like he's talking. Purr, while I'm having fun with him, being careful not to let my tail touch the ground. I hear a train whistle. I thought I got up early, but there are already people working. I say out loud without realizing it, thinking about all the people who have to be on said train, and since when are they awake? I think they work at night, so it doesn't count as getting up early. My neighbor suddenly said, "Since when is she there?" She's talking to me. What do I do? Wait, calm down, Sina. She's just your neighbor. You know her? Kind of. She's an elf. She lives alone with her little son, and she gets along well with my cousin Nicole. I know her, so there's no need to get nervous. It's been a few seconds. Answer quickly. Gee, good morning. Damn, I stuttered. I thought I had already acquired the skill of not doing that. Besides, I ignored her comment, but it's the first conversation I've had today with someone other than Nicole, so I can help it. Yeah, sure. Haha, good morning. You guys are already getting along well from what I see, she says as she takes Galita in her arms. I thought so, but can I say that when I have completely forgotten about the chicken, I've already figured out how to get him not to peck me. So I guess, well, bye. Have a good time. I leave before the conversation spreads. But, that wasn't so bad, was it? No. I even stopped stuttering by the end. I review the conversation in my mind as I walk, scanning the street at the same time. I liked the atmosphere of the neighborhood from the first day I saw it. Lots of trees, nice houses, mostly with green gardens, a cold street, but clean and without potholes, where hardly any carriages pass. I understand why Nicole chose a house here and not in some rich neighborhood. even though she had such a good location in the castle. Speaking of carriages, I heard a rumor that they are inventing one that can move without being pulled by an animal. Something about a bunch of books left behind by someone from another world that they finally managed to decipher or something. Who cares? I'm walking aimlessly. I like to do it from time to time, especially in the morning. Seeing the streets mostly empty, closed stalls, little noise, and most of all, few people, is nice and makes me feel healthy. Even though I do some exercise every day, walking like this gives me the impression that I'm using my body and not just preventing it from deteriorating by exercising at home. Maybe it's silly bull. P.S. I found an orange cat on the stone fence of a house. I don't have any food, but I hope he'll let me pet him. He notices me and he comes closer, but before I can touch him, he turns around, shows me his balls, and calmly goes back to his place. Hey, that was on purpose, wasn't it? I'm sure he didn't have his tail up as he walked towards me. It had to be an orange cat. After a while, I arrive at a small park. I'm not really tired, but I might as well sit for a while. Meanwhile, I think about my current situation. I moved to the capital to attend the academy when I was 18. I wasn't particularly interested in joining, but I was tired of being stagnant and wanted more time to think or maybe run away. So I came, although my main motivation was just to keep moving. So I don't love it. I can't wait to graduate. Even though there's almost no racial discrimination in this country, it's still annoying how much attention I get for being the only one in class with a fluffy tail. Damn, I get pissed off just thinking about it. I'm tired of dodging some idiot who tries to touch my tail, or meeting stupid people who think they can stroke my ears as long as they ask first. Well, I haven't met anyone really mean, or rather, I've managed to avoid them pretty well, but I wish my classmates were more empathetic. At least it's not necessary to graduate. Should I leave early? No, I have a feeling that Nicole would never allow it. You pay tuition from the start, so few if anyone cares if you stop attending, except maybe the odd teacher who takes their job seriously, which surprisingly there are quite a few. Now that I think about it, not for nothing is it one of the best academies on the continent. Remember to try to see the glass half full. I think, at least I really like the uniform. It's comfortable and simple. A pretty dark red sweater over a white shirt and tie. The skirt is a little short, but I like that. It lets me show my legs in stockings, although I have to watch out for the wind, or I'll be showing my panties to everyone. There are certainly a lot of interesting classes, except for the ones on politics, etiquette and the like, which for some reason they teach to common students too and not just nobles. There are also nice classmates, although I feel bad at this point that I still refuse their invitations to go out together. But I can't help it. I really don't want to follow them to some noisy pub. Well, I probably won't see them again after I graduate. Why, that was supposed to be an optimistic thought. Why are there mixed complaints too? Anyway, speaking of graduating, I have to do it to achieve my goal, which is very simple. I want to have a nice house in a perfect place, just like now, but not just nice, but perfect, and that it is my own house that I am responsible for, so I can decorate it however I want. As for the details, I will worry about that in the future. Until then I need money to travel. I don't like the capital. My neighborhood is good, but even there is too much noise all the time, especially for my sensitive ears. Although I have learned to ignore it, I don't want to live all my life in one place with that annoyance in the back of my mind. So, I want to travel the land to see what it has to offer, but the world is not the safest. Monsters, bandits, Strange biomes. There are many ways to die easily, away from the safety of the walls. So I need money for guards, and for that I need a job, and for that I need skills, and for that I need to study. How annoying. If only I had amazing magic, I could travel without worrying. Oh well, maybe it's time to go, but I'm interrupted by another train whistle. This time much closer. Yes, time to go back. I trot back home this time, arriving a few minutes later. I'm home, I call as I cross the hallway and head for the couch in the living room. I should take a bath. I take off my sweatshirt and shorts when I hear a happy Nicole coming out of her room. Welcome. She looks at me, looks around. Her ears droop a little and her tail slowly stops wagging. What happened to my skewers? Maybe the booth was not open. Look at your tail, she says, pointing behind me. I turn my head and see my tail pointing up, completely stiff and a bit bristly. Traitor. I let out a short sigh as I continued to undress. Sorry, I forgot. Should I go back and get some? I ask. No, that's okay. Let's buy some on the way to work, or I can cook you some. We'll buy some. Yeah, you come with me. Why? I say as I stand in my underwear and throw my clothes through the open door into the laundry room. You need to get out more. Also, someone might see you from the window. Hardly anyone comes through this neighborhood. It's early and you're the one who gave me the exhibitionist thing. I say as I look at her figure. She's only wearing a shirt that exposes her belly and black panties. She doesn't seem to be wearing a bra either. It's not exhibitionism. If no one is looking at me, I'm looking. You don't count. You're still coming with me, she affirms and puts her hands on her waist. But there are a lot of people in the castle. You'll get used to it. What do I do if they talk to me? You answer them. And how am I going to do that? Like you're doing now, she says, sounding increasingly exasperated. But you're coming with me, she interrupts. But fine. Finally satisfied with my answer, she goes back to her room. I can't help but stare at her butt. Her panties do a great job. They don't do a great job hiding it. Plus her wide hips give her a sexy wiggle when she walks. Stop looking and hurry up. We're leaving in 40 minutes. That makes me look up again and see her with a big grin on her face. Damn, she caught me looking at her. I sigh again. It's hard not to stare at a body like hers. Her choice of clothes doesn't help. Luckily, I'm over my horniness towards her after an accident a few years ago, where I was de-stressing in my room when I carelessly said her name out loud and she walked in. Don't remember that. Don't remember that. I say to myself as I cover my face with my hands. Luckily, I'm closer to her than any other member of my family, so it wasn't too awkward. We both dismissed the whole thing as teenage hormones, although she did tease me about it for a long time. As I go upstairs to the bathroom, I stop and look down. She already thinks I'm a pervert, so screw it. I also take off my underwear and throw it in the laundry room as I go to the bathroom next to my room. Upstairs, even though I denied it, walking around naked feels, interesting, somehow, refreshing. Let's leave it at that. If a stranger saw me now, I would gouge out his eyes, but I don't mind. If the one looking at me is an acquaintance, shouldn't it be the other way around? Or is that normal? Who cares? After a quick shower, drying with magic, a quick brush and a change of clothes, we both go to the castle. She is now wearing a navy blue women's suit, with the crest on her chest indicating that she belongs to the court magicians. She usually wears casual clothes when she works. This must be a special occasion. She looks really dignified and trustworthy. You could mistake her bored look for one of coolness and confidence. What would all those who admire her think if they knew that her favorite pastime is to lounge around and make fun of me? Meanwhile, I decided on a brown sweatshirt over a simple white shirt and black jeans. I would have preferred a skirt. It's more comfortable and easier to feed my tail, but I love how the jeans accentuate my butt, as well as a simple hair garter at the tip of my hair. While I'm proud of my body and love being dressed lightly at home, I can't help but feel incredibly self-conscious when I get looks from strangers. Even though I want to show off a little, it's a contradictory feeling I'm still deciphering. Didn't you work in a bakery? You should be used to dealing with people by now, she asks me as we make our way to one of the main roads leading to the castle. It's not the shortest route, but there's a skewer stand that sells the best skewers in the world, according to Nicole. Although it's still early, even if they're open, I doubt they'll have anything ready at this hour. Usually, the interactions I have are based on greeting, charging, dismissing them, and not much else. Plus, a lot of salespeople were coming in, so I think my social skills were regressing rather than advancing. You mean vendors? What's wrong with them? Yes, I reply simply, but they are my natural enemy. Listen, they just talk about how great their product is, how generous the discount is, how expensive it usually is without their amazing once-in-a-lifetime promotion. Basically, they talk and talk and talk. Just tell them you're not interested, she says wearily. They won't let me. They won't shut up. I have to talk over them most of the time. It's very stressful and maybe rude. Well, your face is very expressive. Any vendor should know from the beginning that you're not interested. If you interrupt them, they can get mad at you. They asked for it. She tries to be reasonable. Last time, I was serving customers at the bakery when a guy came in and tried to sell me perfume. Her expression tells me that even she thinks it's stupid. For the sake of my sanity, I tried to ignore the fact that he was selling that thing to a race known for their strong sense of smell. When I finally found a loophole in his rant, I told him that I was just an employee and couldn't take money from the register. Nicole regained her fist. Girl is just talking nonsense. Look. Although this time she looked a little more understanding. He said his super awesome offer was for me, not the store owner, and then lined up several different bottles on my counter and asked me to try them. I explained, what kind of idiot distributes perfume in a bakery? She says with a scandalized look on her face, as if her gluttonous side had overpowered her tutoring side. I know. The smell of freshly baked bread is what attracts customers the most, I guess, at least for me. Anyway, I tried to act disinterested by ignoring the bottles and pretending I didn't have any money on me. And you know what he did? I ask, raising my voice a bit. Well, she replies, reverting to her strict but lazy tutor mode. He got mad at me. He even said as he grabbed his stuff, no way, people have that taste here. I know where to never go again. The bastard attacked me like that. Shouldn't you be nice to your potential customers? Why get angry if someone doesn't want your stuff? That's your fault, not the customers. I sigh and take a breath, trying to calm down before continuing. Although, as he was leaving, I thought about his situation. Maybe he hadn't sold any of that obvious cheap copy perfume for days. So seeing a girl not even give his merchandise a glance, the poor guy might have blown up a little. So, I felt bad for him, but I also felt really angry at him for taking it out on me. But I also felt a little attacked, somehow vulnerable and unfairly endangered. And all those ugly feelings came together with stress, a little panic and a terrible urge to cry. Complicated feelings got mixed up and made it worse. Needless to say, My day was completely ruined. Nicole shows a complicated face. In short, I hate door-to-door salesmen. Sina. I don't know if I should be angry at that idiot or at you for caring so much about something so insignificant. It's not insignificant. On the other hand, she says, ignoring me, it's been a long time since you've said such long sentences. Maybe I should thank the man. Next time you run into someone like that, just tell them to get screwed and get on with your life. It's not. She stops talking. Suddenly a light in my peripheral vision catches my attention. It appears in the sky, from behind a cloud. It approaches the ground quickly and is so bright that it illuminates the sky and the earth blue-white. My ears also pick up a hissing sound from the thing, resembling meat cooking in its own fat. I just stood there and watched it fall without really reacting. At least until it hid behind one of the academy's tallest towers, visible from all over the city, and half a second later, boom, a loud bang is heard, making me jump and cover my ears, followed by a loud shudder. What the hell? I said, finally coming out of my daze, as I was waking up and trying to figure out what to do, when suddenly loud bells rang throughout the city. But not just a meteorite. Why would that ring a bell? Or chimes? What is the difference? That sound. Nicole mumbles. Go to the castle. Quick, she yells at me before running off in the direction of the academy. I stopped caring when I started paying attention to the screams of people near me. I guess that woke up the whole town. I better listen to Nicole. I run towards the castle. I really have no idea where I am, but my hearing is only surpassed by my smell, so I know where to go. I just have to follow the distinctive smell of the main street, and it's a straight path from there. Even if I got lost, I would just have to follow my own smell back home, or go over the rooftops straight towards the castle towers that come into view between the streets, rising into the sky. Less than 3 minutes later, I am interrupted by an avalanche of people who have suddenly appeared on the streets, and to make matters worse, although most of them were walking fast, many others were running as if their lives depended on it. Fortunately, this is still a residential area, with buildings not too tall or far apart. So I dashed to an outside staircase of a small apartment building and climbed to the top. From outside the railing, as there are people coming down the same stairs, I'm confident I'll come out unscathed. Even if I fall a few floors, I'm physically stronger than most humans, and my strong, beautiful legs and butt aren't just for show. No time to think about that. I reach the top smoothly and run, parkouring between the buildings. I have to concentrate. There's too much screaming and suddenly I feel a big chill. Maybe the whole city, because for a second there was a terrifying total silence. I turn in the direction of the meteorite, or whatever it was that fell, and notice. I'm too far away to see properly even with my good vision. It's a black mass that's climbing buildings. You also see multicolored lights quickly approaching them. Are they aliens or something, and someone is shooting at them? Again, stop freezing like an idiot, Sina. I scold myself and keep running. After a few minutes of running, the buildings get bigger as I get closer to the center of the city where the royal castle is. Not as crowded as before. I keep going along the ground. Suddenly some strangers and I stop and look down one of the smaller side streets, where we see a flood of people running and screaming. I don't have to wonder why for a long time, because behind them they look like Xenomoha. Xeno what? Again, strange words appear in my mind. It's been a while. Concentrate and run. You idiot. 5 four-legged creatures, 6 to 10 feet tall, with an elongated head, no visible eyes, sharp metallic teeth and a huge segmented tail, with a deadly-looking blade at the tip. things that resembled something between machines and monsters. They were chasing after the crowd. Even though they didn't seem to be in a hurry, they still matched the crowd in speed. But before I could run, I saw a human woman, holding a girl who looked like her, being pushed to the ground. As I saw one of the creatures let out a loud roar. At the same time, it left its slow pace and charged at her at full speed. No, I should help her. Before I could finish the thought, I saw my surroundings move, or rather I am moving, with my outstretched hand shooting a fireball at the monster. It hit it right in the face and stopped it dead in its tracks. Although it didn't look particularly hurt, I turned to the woman. "Lady, get out of here," I yell at her. She doesn't answer me. She just gets up and keeps running. When I turn back to the monsters, all 5 of them are looking at me, and now they are running towards me. But again, before I can come up with a plan, I feel a tug in my mind that makes me turn towards the brick wall of one of the buildings to the right between me and the monsters. Whatever it is, it feels like the first time I've awakened my magic, almost by pure instinct. I stretch my hand towards the wall, or rather towards what's behind it. Darkness. It's still early, but the sun came up quite a while ago. It's already quite clear out here. So somehow, I understand that it's more effective to focus on this part, with a confidence I've drawn from somewhere unknown, and an unusual lack of fear or sense of self-preservation. I mentally call out to the darkness from inside the building, and make a pulling motion to the left with my hand. Crazk. Almost the entire wall, along with the interior of the first of 4 floors of the building, was ripped off and dragged towards the street, hitting the monsters. Stone, brick and metal debris striking the body and huge head of one of the closest creatures, killing it instantly, while its corpse also shot out and hit off its companions. I watched while, once I heard everyone far enough away, I backed up and began climbing back up to the rooftops to gain height advantage. Through a stone archway that connected the small side street to the main street, I didn't have to worry about their survival for long, because crack, a second scream from the building I had torn the wall off of signaled the beginning of its collapse, and in less than 2 seconds, it collapsed on top of the stunned creatures and into what looked like some kind of shop across the street. I moved as fast as I could away from the huge cloud of dust and, pressing my ears back from the loud sound that almost resembled an angry roar, I began to think. I didn't hear anyone inside or nearby, but I hope I'm not to blame for what just happened. I'll deny any involvement on my part if anyone asks later. Remember Nicole's wise but questionable advice. Say, everything is legal if the authorities aren't around. It seemed that the group of monsters were stray ones. Now that I know what their whistles and roars sound like, I couldn't hear any nearby. Good. As I returned to the ground and ran towards the stone and crystal castle that adorns much of the sunrise, I remembered what I had just done. The few who can use magic are supposed to awaken it sometime before puberty, just as it happened to me. I'd never heard of a second awakening before. Plus, I somehow knew what I was capable of and how to do it, like I'd done it a million times before. Besides, isn't all magical darkness just the lack of light or something? Although at the academy they say that the world is filled with many different mysterious energies. I should ask Nicole later. As a court maga, she should at least have an idea. Anyway, it's fascinating and a bit scary to be able to feel the energy in every dark place, which is maybe a fifth of the huge metropolis that is this city. Well, it's not really annoying. Although I did feel like a metaphorical bucket of cold water hit me. It's just like being in an empty room when suddenly you blink and there are a million swords at your fingertips, ready to be used. I even feel like I could. I stop for a moment to test my idea. I go up to the roofs for the third time, this time a clothing store, and look in the direction of where the meteorite fell. They seem to be managing it. I don't know what kind of magic or attack it is, but with glowing projectiles that leave a trail of blue light behind them, they knock the creatures off the buildings. Great, I say out loud. There's no one here, so it's okay. Even though they look like they came straight from hell, they seem to be far from invincible, as I also proved with my act of bravery, or rather my act of thoughtlessness, impulsiveness and stupidity. No, my fully conscious act of, self-discovery. Yes, of course. I quickly search for the nearest creature I can find and manage to spot a lonely one about, I'd say, a mile away, just standing there, eating, something I, really hope it found in a butcher shop. I focus on it as best I can and there it is, the metaphorical sword around it and also inside the thing. If I can draw the darkness, can I crush it? Somehow, I know the answer is yes. Gesturing with my hand, I clench my fist, and just then the creature gives a big jerk and falls over like a puppet whose strings have been cut. Wow, even though the level of danger I feel from them is quite varied, they are certainly hostile, but still, to have your heart, or whatever it is they have in their barrel torsos, crushed without being able to do anything about it sounds quite unfair. I almost feel bad. Almost. Well, yeah, I can kill them. I should help then, I said, changing my course. But I should have worn a tighter shirt. Dem bouncing breasts. I stop running and decide on range attacks. Not many more cries of pain. More like war cries. Might as well take the opportunity and try out my new skills. Let's see. What can you do with darkness? Let's try. Drown them by covering their head. Seems to be much easier to use the magic darkness coming out of my hand than the one around. Cool. Nothing happens. Pierce their heads. They die instantly. Pierce their torsos. They die quickly. Crush them. Very hard. But they die after a while. Cut off their heads. They die instantly. Let's try something more unusual. I concentrate a little more while I see a group of 3 climbing the tower of a small temple. Maybe someone is hiding at the top. Let's cut off their claws first, along with the rest of their limbs to make them fall. After a little effort on my part and some screams of pain on theirs, they fall. Let's continue the experiments. I pull the darkness inside one of them hard into the ground, greatly accelerating their fall, leaving a crater and a lot of their blood behind. 'Tis not acid. Why would their blood be acid? More strange thoughts. I should go to a temple to get checked out later. His body looks relatively intact. Lo, now. Oh, someone stole my prey. Would, prey. That thought leaves me a bit cold. Why am I playing with them? I should be using the time to help people, not testing my new skills. Well, I guess I helped a lot with the large number I killed, but at some point, I stopped paying attention to the whole emergency situation and started having fun. That's not like me. How scary. I definitely need to think about that. I'll ask Nicole later. For now, let's continue with the perch, this time getting closer to where there's more noise. Back to the present. They're more fragile than I thought. How are the guards doing? I thought after a few minutes of hunting. Let's see. Them. Over there. I followed the sound of the next battle. 5 minutes later, I arrived at a small square to see corpses. So that's why there were fewer cries of pain. I was very focused before, so I ignored what most of my senses were telling me, as I'm used to. But now that I'm here, I'm assaulted by the strong metallic stench of blood. Before I can hold my nose, I'm pulled out of my thoughts by the distinctive roar I'm getting accustomed to. On the other side of the square, I see several knights fighting one of the creatures, much larger than the others, maybe 15 feet tall and almost twice as long. Instead of an elongated head, it has a kind of crown of black antlers, blacker than coal, and several arms and tails. Just as earlier, I move before I can think of anything, as I see one of the thing's tails shatter a knight's shield, along with its arms, making the distinctive and unpleasant snap and crack of breaking bones. And before the giant claws of one of its arms finish the job, I arrive. I must have been more mentally tired than I thought I was, because I just used my magic-enhanced shoulder to push the creature a few feet instead of using a real attack, which gave the injured guy time to be dragged away by his companions. But in turn, even though I managed to push the monster a little, it reminded me that it's a bad idea to get within range of huge, multi-limb monsters with sharp teeth and claws. This one is all four of those things and more, and I'm right next to it. As soon as I could see two of the tails almost reaching for me, I managed to create a shield of darkness that kept it from stabbing me. But I still shot out into the street. I feel an intense pain in my chest, which only gets worse as I roll down the street. This is no time to test body to body, idiot. The quick turn of events, the pain in my chest, the strong smells and sounds that I suddenly became painfully aware of, make me act on instinct again. Following the movement of my hand, my mind comes back to clarity as I see down scenes of spears of darkness shoot out of the ground, impaling the creature all over its body. But with no time to observe the situation, I have to force my body to move, for although it is dead, the momentum it had when it came at me at full speed without my knowledge still makes its extremely heavy body about to fall on me. I managed to throw myself aside in time, but the sudden movement forces me to scream again from the pain, which is not very kind to the fracture in my chest, as I remain on my knees, bearing the pain and trying not to move much while breathing. One of the knights appears beside me. "Miss, are you all right? Let me take a look," he says as he tries to turn me around by the shoulder, causing me to groan even more in pain. "Ark, I think that thing broke my sternum. I can heal it. Don't touch me," I yell back. "Stir what? Never mind. Do you need help?" the guy says, pulling his hand back. Now I feel bad for yelling at him. His metal armor looks pretty heavy, so maybe he couldn't help being so rough earlier. Wait, can I heal myself? Why did I say that? Surprised, I open my eyes wide when, just like a while ago, just like when I awaken my darkness, I feel some confidence and clarity enter me. I point my hand at myself, throwing some darkness at my chest, while I recreate in my mind the image of the same magic numbing my nerves, picking up the scattered bone shards, catching the broken and cracked pieces of a slightly sunken breastbone in the middle of my chest, tying it back to the ribs, putting it back in place, repairing muscles, nerves, veins and tissue, and finally connecting it all back together, somehow knowing that I have left it much stronger than it ever could have been. Wow, I think, a little shocked. At the same time as the knight from earlier says the same thing, still looking at my chest too much, actually. I don't know how the hell I did this myself, but stop staring at my breasts. Cough, cough. I cough a little as I slowly stand up, checking for pain. The guy comes out of his daze and quickly looks away from my slightly torn clothes, reminding him where the hell we are. Seeing several bodies strewn about brings him back to duty. "Miss, Please help my wounded comrades, at least enough to get them out of danger. I beg you, he says as he lowers his head and puts one knee on the ground. I never cared much for social ranks, but I'm sure a knight is at least 1 or 2 steps above a commoner like me. Sometimes they are nobles themselves. But while I would normally be paralyzed by someone like that bowing to me, this time I don't even answer him, as I run over to the rest of the group. Tonight holding a guy with a severed arm while other one presses hard on the wound. At the same time several others inspect the fallen and the guy with the broken arms just sits on the side and tries to hold back his grunts. I feel like I could make it grow back, but I shouldn't experiment too much now, and I guess there will be a lot of injured people out there. Sorry sir, but I'll save my strength and do the minimum. Let me see. I ask for space to see properly. A clean cut on the forearm, near the elbow, obviously a lot of blood. Good. I mean, not good at all, but not as bad as his screams make it sound. I completely push the knight away, who is trying to stop the bleeding, as I push the darkness into what's left of his arm, stopping the bleeding. I guess they heard me or were watching me, as none of them say anything and just watch me work. Just like before, as if my body is moving on its own. But at the same time, it's not as if I'm possessed. It's just me directing the magic, as if I've done it before but forgot for the 1000th time today. This is no time to be distracted. Sina, in this case, for quick treatment and without the rest of the arm in sight. Maybe it's best to cut even a little more of the arm. This time from the junction at the elbow, leaving some skin I can use to close the wound. I repeat the same as before, relocating nerves, vessels, tissue, glue, strengthen. Phew, I let out a sigh when I'm done. It's kind of annoying and stressful, but very satisfying at the same time, to see that he's no longer bleeding and screaming, though he still looks very disturbed. I wish I had regular healing magic. They say you just cast a preset spell and it'll heal on its own. Something inside me tells me that my method is more accurate, versatile, and useful overall. Sorry. I say, I think you could have put it back together, but there's no time. I hear Mara's church can regrow limbs, if you can afford it. I say absent-mindedly, looking around for any other major injuries. That's more than enough. You have my thanks, a voice behind me says. It's the nice gentleman from before. He seems to have finished analyzing the big Xeno. I guess the guy I treated isn't in the mood for conversation. I walk over to the knight with the broken arms to do the same to him as I did to myself, while the others continue the conversation. Marcus, report captain. 8 survivors relatively unharmed. 17 casualties. Red flare over there. We look in the direction he is pointing, and indeed, there is a trail of red smoke rising into the sky. Red being an emergency signal, if I remember correctly. I help the young knight to his feet, this time only healing his broken bones together as they would have done naturally, to save energy. Although I don't feel my magic diminishing in the slightest. We will honor the fallen when the battle is over. Move. Yes, Captain. He looks at me. Miss, I shouldn't ask a civilian to fight too, but your skills will be very useful. You will be rewarded. I've lead the way, I reply, interrupting him. Right as we hurry through the deserted streets, I noticed that this time I didn't mind to interrupt someone while they were talking. Adrenaline maybe. Even I can tell this is no time to worry about manners. A few blocks later, we find a large group, surrounding perhaps 100 creatures, encircling them in a very large circle of blue fire. I look around. The knights I came with are gone. I guess they joined the many wizards, knights, soldiers and other people whose job I don't understand. Even though they're keeping them at bay, they don't seem to be doing them much harm. I can also make out some of the bigger ones, like the one who beat me up among the black mass of hellish creatures. Sina. I turn around and see Nicole running towards me as she roughly pushes several people away. Nico, ow. Stop, I reply as she suddenly tugs my ear a little. Even though I say it's only a little, fox ears are very sensitive. Imagine someone tugging your nipples. Well, it's something like that. What are you doing here? Calm down and let me go. I can kill them. Look, I say, showing her a ball of darkness I create in the palm of my hand, while with the other hand I rub my poor battered ear, which she lets go at the sight of my hand. It's been ages since I've heard her scream. I guess she was worried to see me here, which warms my heart, but at the same time makes me a little scared by her very unusually loud voice. You woke up another magic. Yes, I can also use it to heal. Somehow, I say, reassured by her expression, which suddenly changed from a frown to an excited one. That brings her back to her senses. You've been hurt, she states, not asks, seeing my disheveled hair and fur and torn, dirty clothes. Yes, sorry, I got careless and one of the big ones hit me. I managed to protect myself, but it still threw me away. But I healed myself. Look, I lift up my sweatshirt and shirt, or what's left of them. My pink bra is a little frayed in the middle, but otherwise my skin is flawless. A little dirty at best. We're outside AAH. Damn it, I was so relieved to see Nicole that I forgot. We were in the middle of the main street. I guess most of the attention is on the creatures trapped in the fire, but there are still people around. No, let me see properly, my cousin says as she lifts my clothes again and looks closely at my skin. By our screams, I can now see several people looking at me. Many of them go on their way or look away, but some of them are clearly looking at me. I am the northeast. That's enough. Luckily, she lets me go after a few seconds, but my red face won't return to its normal color anytime soon. I have to make sure. My aunt will kill me if something happens to you. She slowly regains her lazy look. I told you I'm healed. What? Well, yes, but you're the type to hide your problems behind a smile. What are you all waiting for here anyway? I look away and change the subject. There are too many of them to kill all at once. But at least we found out that they are afraid of the hottest fire. That's why the blue flames. We managed to corner them. But to keep going like this is very tiring. So to avoid deaths, we mages will take turns to keep the flames going until more help arrives. We both look at the black mass of death, hiding in the circle of fire. From the rooftops, I killed everyone I could see, but there might be more out there. I'll help, I tell her. Oh, I need to see that, she says, following me closer to get an unobstructed view. That's quite a lot. I feel like I'd still have quite a bit of magic left, but when I use natural darkness, I don't feel any depletion. I guess I'll save some more. I reach out my hand towards the mass of xeno whatever they are called and picture a sharp sword in my mind. I think that should work, but I've never held a sword before, so the magic might not be as sharp and strong as it should be. So, let's focus on something more familiar. I recreate the image of the sharpest thing I've ever seen, a concertina wire. The cut scars on my dad's and my brother's hands have always been a reminder to me never to go near that devil's razor-covered wire. Who could have thought of something so evil? Regular barbed wire can do the job just fine. Remembering the time I helped bandage my brother's blood-dripping hand, a very thin blade of dark magic appears, about 30 feet long, only around 1.5 feet off the ground. When I think it is solid enough, I throw it at the legs of the creatures. It works like a charm, ignoring the roar that changes from anger to pain. I concentrate half of my mind on pushing as hard as I can, and the other half on keeping the magic within the circle of fire. With such a long blade, it would be easy for me to end up cutting some idiot that stands too close to the fire. After only a few minutes of effort, I managed to cut off the legs of all the monsters, even killing a few unlucky ones who had their huge heads too close to the ground. Well, at least that will make them much more vulnerable. I'll rest for a bit and go help the wounded. Pa, I sigh and decide to sit down on the ground. That was amazing. I saw a steel sword bounce off their skin earlier, Nicole says as we watch everyone start shooting at the monsters. Wait, that really wasn't too hard. Should I have cut higher and killed them? But, well, never mind. It's cool, isn't it? But what did you have in mind when you made the sword? It was very strangely shaped, the razor wire from the barnyard at home. I explained. She doesn't answer me. Instead, she gives me a look of understanding, turns around a bit, pulls down her clothes and shows me her bare shoulder, where you can see a small old scar, just under an inch long. I see what you mean. I got this when I was a kid. Wow, at least it's barely visible. So don't worry, wait. We baked together countless times. You've never seen it before, she asks. I got distracted every time, I answer, unable to look her in the eye anymore. I mean, I almost always turn my back to you in the shower. I tried to reply, but if you've already lost, you should stop fighting. You'll only embarrass yourself more. Never mind. I'll help. See you later. I walk away before she can speak.